this video we are going to talk about sessions sessions creation through request. So first of all, what is sessions? Session object allow one to persist certain parameters across request. It also passes cookies across all requests made from the session instance and will use URL lib3 connection polling. So we can process some of the headers or authorization through session object. You don't need to specify the authorization or headers repeatedly before sending the request. So having said that, we can import the request library in Python. Then let us create an auth variable. So auth equal to user pass. Normally we won't do like this, password and username. We're not supposed to give. We can store it in an environment variable and pass it as headers. But for simplicity, we are giving like this. And we are creating a custom header too to see whether when we are calling, sending the request, we can verify whether the header is passing or not. Having said that, we can create a session object. For that, it's very simple, request.session. So that will give you a session object. And we can set the authorization variable we created to our session auth, like a simple assignment statement, s.auth equal to auth. Then we can update the session header using s.headers.update with header. Header is what we set up here. So with this, we can send a request to our example http bin.org. For that, it's easy, s.get session object dot get and the URL. So with this, we will be passing our headers and authorization, all those details. We can debug that when we run the program. So after that, we are printing the session object to see what actually the session object is. And we can also see the headers we are passing in the session object. And here we are getting a response. We are checking whether it's what was the status we got, whether it's 200 or not. Then we are again sending another request to http bin.org with the same session object dot get. So here we are not explicitly passing, or we don't know, usually we give headers as parameters or params or authorization, but since we are using the session object, it will automatically pass to this request. We can verify that when we are debugging that. And second request, we also want to print our headers to see what we have passed, and we want to see what is the response we got back. A third request is a standalone. Here you can see we are not using the session object. We are simply taking a get request from the request uh, object itself, not through session. Here we won't be passing the headers because we are not using the session object and we are not passing the headers explicitly. So we won't get headers. We will get headers, but this whatever we have set, this won't be there. We can verify that when we are debugging it. And we want to print what is the status code we got back. Status code. I think that's all we want to cover in this uh, program. Um, we can try to, I set a breakpoint here. We can run the debug. So it reached here. and we have the auth variable and header variable, and I'm going to the next. So we got a response, so that's the reason we got our object created, and you can see the response is 200. And we usually check r dot request, so this will give we what we actually pass to HTTP pin. So you can see headers here and store, and you can see we have authorization. Even though we passed like this, it has created an authorization, and we also set up the headers. So we send headers as well, name, and rest of them are being standard ones. So we have the request sent. This is one way to check it, or since we have the session object here, we can check the headers here as well. So we have the same thing. But authorization is what something we get in the response object. I don't think we can see it here. So having said that, we can move on to, so session object is a object with an address, and if you call headers, we can see what was there in the session object. So we can see our header is actually set. And here our second request, and you can see a second response has created with status code 200. If you look at the request and headers, since we are calling with session object dot get, it should have all the headers and authorization. So I'm just verifying that, yeah, we have the authorization and the header as well. So we can print it, and status also 200. Here is the third request. This is a standalone request. This ideally should not have our headers or authorization. That's what we are trying to verify here. So you can see the R3 object should get created. Yes, it's got created. And we have request. This is the response headers. This won't have the data we have set up. This is http bin.org is sending back, I believe. So, but response.request dot headers should have all the parameters what we have sent. But you can see our header is not set, the name header is not there, or the authorization also not there. So it's a standalone request, not with the session. So there's no data persistence here in this request. And we got the status also 200. I think that's all I need to cover in this program. I'll be sharing this code in my GitHub repository. I'll link that in the description. Uh, I think that's all I want to cover. See you in the next video. Thank you.